Welcome to Lesson 21, Reports. To begin this lesson, go to the QuickBooks Online demo account, as discussed in Lesson 4. QuickBooks Online provides dozens of financial reports that provide a snapshot of different aspects of your business. Some focus on your income, while others focus on your spending. Be aware that the number of available standard reports varies depending on your QuickBooks subscription. Essentials subscribers do not have as many report options as Plus subscribers. To run reports, select Reports on the navigation bar. You have two options for finding a report. First, you can use the Find Report by Name search bar to search for reports by name. Let's say I want to run a transaction list by date. I will start typing Transaction in the search box, and notice that I am presented with any reports that have the word Transaction in the name. Select the one called Transaction List by Date. The report should open. Now, be aware that if you ever select the name of a report and it does not appear, you may need to click the Refresh button on your browser. At that point, the report should load. And frankly, if QuickBooks Online ever seems to freeze, the Refresh button is a good option. While we're up in that area of your browser window, be aware that using the Back button is not advised when using QuickBooks Online. Only use the navigation bar and other controls within the product to do your moving around. Now let's review the Transaction List by Date report. In the upper left of the report, you can select the date range for data displayed in the report. I want to see last month's transactions. Click Apply to see the updated report. Notice the list shows every transaction for the past month, but it would be helpful to see it grouped by day. In the upper left area, drop down the Group By list and select Day. Click Apply to see the updated report, and notice that it shows collapsible groups of transactions by day. Plus, it now subtotals the transactions based on this grouping. Now, there are a couple of columns that I no longer want to see in this report. Scroll to the top of the report and notice four small icons. The envelope and printer both take you to a screen that allows you to email or print this report. The third icon allows you to export the report to Excel, but the fourth icon, that looks like a gear, allows you to remove certain columns from the report. Click the gear and remove the Num and Memo Description columns. Now that is a nice report to hand to anyone who wants to look at all activity, regardless of account, for the past month. Select Reports in the navigation bar. So the first way to find a report is to use the search bar, as I just demonstrated. The second way is to simply browse the full list of available reports. As you scroll down the huge list, notice it is broken into groups, such as Sales and Customers, and Expenses and Vendors. The very first group at the top is called Favorites, and this is where you can place reports that you run a lot so that you don't have to constantly scroll down and find them. Initially, it includes three of the most common financial reports used by any business or organization: Accounts Receivable Aging Summary, Balance Sheet, and Profit and Loss, sometimes called an income statement. Click on Balance Sheet to open the report. Scroll down and examine it. Notice it lists what you own, assets, what your debts are, liabilities, and what you have invested in your company, that's called equity. Now scroll to the upper left and notice a small link below the name of the report that says Back to Report List. Clicking this link when you're viewing any report will close the current report and return you to the complete list. Notice you are now back to viewing Favorites. While these are popular reports, they may not be your favorites. For instance, the Accounts Receivable Aging Summary shows unpaid invoices for the current period and for the last 30, 60, and 90 plus days so that you can see how long they've been outstanding. and most of you in the ironworkers world do not generate enough invoices to make this a useful report on an ongoing basis. So click the star next to that report and notice that it disappears from the favorites area. If you scroll down to the Who Owes You group, there it is, Accounts Receivable Aging Summary. If you do run that report a lot and want it back up in favorites, just click the star next to it, scroll up to favorites, and it's back. Now, the transaction list by date report that you ran earlier in this lesson is a report that all unions will want to run periodically, so scroll down to the For My Accountant group and put a star next to that report. Notice it is now in your favorites. However, if you run that report now, you won't see any of the customizations that we made earlier. The num and memo description columns that we removed are back. So how can you save your customizations so that they will be there each time you run a report? It's easy. Let's try it. Scroll down to the Expenses Vendors group and open the Check Detail report. In the upper left area, select This Year's Transactions. Click Apply to see the updated report, and notice the list shows every check written this year. But it would be helpful to see it grouped by vendor. So in the upper left area, drop down the Group By list and select Name. Click Apply to see the updated report, and notice that it shows collapsible groups of transactions by vendor. Find all checks written to Chin's Gas and Oil. Since the report is grouped by name, you decide to go to the lower gear and remove that column along with the memo description column. While you're there, add the account column and click the Reorder Columns link in the lower left. Drag the account column right below Date. Click Run Report and notice all of your changes. Again, this is a great report, but you might decide to change the report title to Check Detail by Vendor. Scroll to the top of the report and click the Customize button. Collapse the customization areas called General, Rows Columns, and Filter, and expand the customization area called Header Footer. Edit the title to Check Detail by Vendor, and then click Run Report. And you now have customized a report. You can print it or export it to Excel. However, be aware that once you leave this report, all of your customizations will be lost. So if every time you run this report you want it to look this way, scroll to the top of the page and click Save Customization. Now, those of you who used QuickBooks Desktop, these were called memorized reports in that product. You must give your customized report a name. It can be anything you want, and this name does not appear on the report itself. So let's say I've customized this report the way my FST named Mike likes it. I will call it Mike's Check Detail by Vendor Report. And click Save. By the way, I had a client whose boss always wanted unique changes to his reports, and it drove her crazy. If you logged into her QuickBooks Online and looked at her Custom Reports tab, you would see reports called Joe's Report He Loves, Joe's Pain in the Butt Report, Joe's Report I've Changed for the 200th time. I guess it's her way of keeping her sense of humor. Select Reports on the navigation bar. Notice the tab that says Standard. This is where the normal reports are grouped and listed. And if I were to scroll down to the Check Detail report, it would be the original version of that report, not the customized version I just saved. But notice the tab called Custom Reports. If I click here, I see my saved version called Mike's Check Detail by Vendor Report. Click on it to open it and notice that all of the customizations are still there. Now, in this Play account for Craig's Landscaping, even this saved report will disappear after we log out just because this Play account resets. But in your real QuickBooks Online account, your customized reports will always be available from session to session on the Custom Reports tab. Just be aware though, if you change the customization on a custom report, you need to save it again to preserve your newest changes. I want you to see that you can also focus on a specific account instead of running reports for everything. A quick way to do this is from the Chart of Accounts. Go to Account, Chart of Accounts on the navigation bar. Scroll down to the expense account called Accounting. Select Run Report in the Action column for that account. Notice you have a nice report of only transactions categorized under Accounting. This is just a normal report like all the others, with the same options for customization. Select this year as your report period, and don't forget to hit Run Report to update the report. Scroll to the top of the report and click Customize. Expand the Filter section, and notice that this report has been filtered to only show your one selected account, Accounting. But if you drop down the Distribution Account list, you could scroll down and add a second account, Bookkeeping. Click Run Report and notice you now see everything from the accounting and bookkeeping accounts for your selected date range. And don't forget that you have icons at the top of the report that allow you to print or export to Excel. Let's export this report to Excel. The report goes to your Downloads folder, but you can open it immediately in Excel. Now I have one more thing to show you that takes us back to our lesson on classes. Prior to recording this lesson, I went into my Craig's Landscaping Play file and added my Mickey, Donald, and Elmer classes, as well as my Savannah and Charleston locations that I created in that earlier lesson. I also categorized a few transactions into those classes and locations. So if you've forgotten how to do that, you might want to go revisit the classes lesson. Select Reports on the navigation bar. In the search bar, type Location, and then select the report called Profit and Loss by Location. Notice that I can scroll down and see my expenses broken out between the two locations, Savannah and Charleston. Obviously, there are many transactions in this column called Not Specified, because only a few of my play transactions have been designated as Savannah or Charleston. Also, click the Customize button and filter this report to only show the Savannah information. I could now save this report as my Savannah Profit and Loss Report and run it every month, for example. Now return to the list of all reports and type Class in the search bar. Select the report called Profit and Loss by Class. Notice that I can scroll down and see my expenses broken out between Mickey, Elmer, and Donald. And now I will filter to only show Mickey's transactions. Let's imagine that a trustee or other individual would like to see this particular report each month. I'm going to save my customized report and call it Mickey's Profit and Loss. Go to Reports, then select Custom Reports. Find Mickey's Profit and Loss in the list, and then select Edit in the Action column. Turn on Set Email Schedule. Set the email recurrence to monthly on day last. At the very bottom of all the numbers is an option called Last. Enter the recipient's email. I'll just put name@anywhere.com. And for more than one person, just separate them with commas and don't include any spaces. Initially, the subject of the email has the name of the report, but you can change it if desired. You can type any desired note, and the report will follow the note and is included as an attachment. If you want to send the report as an Excel file, select the box next to Attach the report as an Excel file. Otherwise, the report is sent in an HTML format. Select Save and Close. Now, you've just set up this particular report to be emailed to the specified people on the last day of every month automatically. Very cool feature. I have one more thing to show you that Gay Schmidt and I discovered quite by accident with one of your ironworker locations. In one of the earliest lessons, I told you that when you first get QuickBooks Online, you need to go to the gear icon in the upper right, Account and Settings, and on the Company tab, be sure to enter all of your specific company information, such as your federal tax ID number, your physical address, etc. Well, notice this section called Company Type. There's a drop-down list for tax form, and this particular ironworker location selected Nonprofit Organization Form 990 and clicked Save. Here's what making that particular selection does to your reports. On the left, you see the typical report names in the Favorites area. On the right, you see the report names if you have marked your organization as a nonprofit. Balance sheet becomes Statement of Activity, Profit and Loss becomes Statement of Financial Position. So when we asked this ironworker location to run a balance sheet report, they went to Reports on the navigation bar and looked around and said, "We don't have a report called that." We were very confused until we discovered that it all stemmed from this one change in their settings. So folks, while you are technically a nonprofit organization, you do not want to select this particular setting. That company type setting isn't required, so either leave it blank or from the list, select Not Sure, Other, None. Otherwise, the next time you log into QuickBooks Online, your report names will become non-standard, and there will be other naming conventions throughout QuickBooks Online that will be altered and cause you confusion. If you made this mistake already, simply go fix the field and save it. Log out of QuickBooks Online and then log back in, and your reports will be back to their standard names. This has been a long lesson, and yet we have only examined a few of the many reports available to you. Do not hesitate to play around. You'll find some reports that you really love, and as you play around, you will learn more ways to customize reports to meet your specific needs. Keep in mind that in the first few months of using QuickBooks Online, you may have difficulty finding the information you need or running a report for a meeting. Don't spend hours struggling. Just contact any of us on the HQ team and we'll help you.